We'll get started here. Call the Finance Committee meeting of the Keystone Central School Board of Directors Committee to order. And I think before we do the presentations, I'll see if we have any visitors that would like to make any comments. I don't think we do by the looks of who's online. So if not, we will move on to our presentations. And I think we have, first of all, from Gerhardt Herr, Beth Ricardo, and she's going to give us her presentation on the RFP for the broker service presentation. So I will turn it over to you.
So Joni's gotta
Joni,
put
are you
it up
gonna-
on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You have some, so you're,
Beth, just make sure you're talking in the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Sounds like it.
I think you're pretty close.
Screen.
You might have to share that one. Stop sharing. Do you share? Yeah, and then.
Okay, there we go.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Beth Ricardo. I am one of the owners of Gerhardt Herr Insurance. And today I am going to introduce you to my nephew, JP Geis, and my oldest son, Wilson Ricardo, because they are our next generation up and coming in our agency. So, okay. So what I'd like to do is just spend a minute going over who we are. We're a large local agency. We have offices in 3 different counties. We're in Lycoming County in Jersey Shore. Our corporate office is here in Lock Haven, and we have an office in Center County in State College called Doty and Hinch. We are also a founding member of the Insurance Alliance network. And what that Insurance Alliance network does is we group and formed a new corporation with 11 other agencies. And our mission is to unite in practice together so that our clients get the best insurance products and services available to them. So through size, diversity, and broad expertise, our long-term growth and profitability has enabled us to secure relationships with top national and regional insurance companies. In 2023, our network was the 17th largest network in the state of Pennsylvania, with 11 locations and 125 employees. So our areas of expertise are commercial, personal asset protection, group benefits, and financial services. Locally here, we have 11 graduates of our school district, and many of our employees have their children enrolled in this school district. So we are very vested in the school district. Many of you know I serve on the Keystone Central Foundation. That's how I've gotten to know many of you. And so it's just one of the things that we feel helps separate us, how vested we are in Keystone Central School District. We are primarily a commercial lines agency. Our 80% of our business is commercial lines. We write schools, a lot of municipalities, contractors. 20% of our business is other, like personal or benefits. So we also employ a lot of agents that have claims experience, and that gives us, we believe in a team approach, and I'm going to go over that here shortly. What I was going to do today is take a few minutes and go through the policy, but one of the things I wanted to highlight was alternate quotes that we can provide. Every single year, we provide you with quotes from PSBA, Utica, and Liberty Mutual, as well as over 17 different workers' comp quotes. We lay them out side by side. We represent all the carriers that focus on school districts. Now, insurance is complicated, and we don't expect your business office to know every single thing about insurance. So they use us as a consultant, and we help them decipher the differences in coverage, because that quote may not match that quote. Deductibles can be different, and it's very, very complicated, and insurance has continued to get ever complex. So I just want to make it clear that we have been able to provide you with all the quotes for all the carriers for many years. So why would you buy, Joni, can you go to the next slide? Why would you buy your insurance from us? Well, we have 60 different companies that allow us to provide you with alternatives. So if you feel that you are not happy with your current company, we're able to look at the market and find something else for you and give you options. We work on your behalf. We don't worry about us. We worry about you. And I think you can speak to Joni and Christy that we make every effort to give them options and explain things and be on hand for them. So we have a list of core values that we go by in our office: integrity, professionalism, fairness, and reliability. And those core values have enabled us to be in business since 1867. We are the longest running business in Clinton County. So I haven't been alive since 1867. I am second generation. And then what I was making clear earlier is JP and Wilson, who have been working for our agency for some time, they will be our third generation owners. So we have 3 locations to serve: Lock Haven, Jersey Shore, and State College. We have kept up with technology. We have a computer system that links all our agencies together. Our phone system is all linked together. If you call one of our offices, they will be able to look at your account and help you. It does not have to be that you just call Lock Haven. You can call any one of our offices, and any one of our CSRs should be able to look at your account and help answer your questions. So we are committed to serving you, and hope that you'll give us consideration as being your broker for the upcoming renewal. On page 4, I just wanted to highlight some of the things that our agency does for Keystone Central. We have employees, JP is one, that comes down and goes to the monthly claims reviews. And on those claims reviews, it's more than just workers' comp. It's safety at the school. And we highlight any red flags, and we try to work on targeted areas. We have developed a driver safety program. We have started another safety program. It's temporarily on hold till you decide who your agent is. However, we are focusing on students hurting teachers. It has become a really big focus in workers' comp and school safety, and that is what we work on. So we are working on developing a school safety program. We meet with the business office at least 4 months ahead. We go through the loss control applications and meetings, and we interface primarily with property services. We meet with Rob Pasella. Now I see he's retiring, but we get with them. We get the driver's lists. We get the autos. We go on inspections of the buildings with them. When Liberty Curtains got started, we put a builder's risk on that. They needed a tour. We took them, we meet the carrier. We go out on your job site and we meet that company rep, and we meet your facilities person, your property services person, and make sure that everything goes well. We are always prepared so your school district looks good. That's our job, to make you look good. So we have done in-service presentations, both with teachers and here with the school board. We also work with Industrial Appraisal. Industrial Appraisal, if you're not familiar, it's a large company that comes and inventories your buildings and your contents, and then tells you how much property coverage you should have. And we work with them. And we do, again, I'm repeating myself, but we do yearly marketing. We look at all your coverage, we negotiate the premiums, and we provide comparisons for your business office so they don't have to spend the time doing it. We also come and bring new and different coverage. For instance, at one point last year, I was here on a violent response. It was a new and different type of coverage, and we bring it to you and give you the option of purchasing that. So those are just some of the things we do. And then on page 5, we, Wilson and I primarily work with the business office on the package renewal. The claims and safety people, JP and Joe Geis, they both have claims experience and workers' comp experience. JP worked for Eastern Alliance, which is your current workers' comp carrier. And so he, Wilson, Joe all go to the workers' comp seminars that are put on by in Harrisburg that are days long. They go to those so that we can focus on your workers' comp. We have a girl in the office devoted to Keystone Central, Sarah. Sarah is everybody's best friend. Everybody calls her when they need something, and she is very helpful. And we also have another girl to help with maybe you need to have a client or a student get insurance for being on an athletic team. So we can help them with that right online. On page 6, I just wanted to spend a minute focusing. This is what has driven some of our premium is driven by our claims. And so primarily what I did is I started with last year, and I just highlighted how many school leaders claims we have and the other kind of claims that we have that are driving, losses do drive some premium. So we are experiencing at least 2 school leaders claims a year. We did have a bad year. They look back 5 years. And we did have a bad year in 2018. We had a bad liability claim. We had 11 school leaders claims, and we had a property roof claim. So overall, your loss ratio with Liberty Mutual, which is the carrier I was assigned, is 31%, but our school leaders we are well over 100% in school leaders, okay? So that is an area of focus. And on page 7, this is primarily addressing property. Your industrial appraisal from 2023 came back with a $50 million increase in values. And that is being driven by replacement costs going up so much. And cost of construction is through the roof. Now, in this case, Liberty Mutual said, listen, that's a big jump for one school district. We're happy to put it in increments for them if they would like that. So they've given us an alternate quote that is $30,000 less. If you want to look at that, they'll step up the increase over a couple of years as opposed to hitting you with all of that in one full year. But that's what we've quoted is the $285 million. And we do include flood and earthquake. At the bottom of the page, it talks about commercial inland marine. That's equipment. And a year ago, under newly acquired mobile equipment or tools, we had a $200,000 limit. That's what the inventory. This year's inventory is over $700,000. So we bumped that limit to $1 million. It was $124. So I thought that was a good value. You have $1 million of mobile equipment. It's insured wherever it is. Are there any questions? All right. So we'll go on to page 8. Page 8 is liability. And I don't expect you to know everything, but this is a very meaty and important piece of your policy. General liability is if somebody slips and falls, like that claim we had in 2018, the lady fell at the stadium in a hole. And so this is where that coverage is found. We also write employee benefits, sexual misconduct, and a violent event response. We do include pollution. If you go on to page 9, this is the continuation. This is where the school leaders is. And this covers all of you, all the employees, all the teachers for your professional abilities. If somebody says you didn't do your job, this is where we find coverage. We have law enforcement coverage for the security officers. And we also have $1 million on page 10 of crime coverage. And that's a variety of different kinds of claims. On page 11, I just wanted to highlight, we were told to list out the bonds. We write some bonds. We write for the school tax office. We write for the secretary of your board. And that's just a list with some limits. On page 12 are just the limits for the auto. We have $1 million. We also carry some coverage on there so that if the VOTEC kids work on somebody's car, there's some coverage for them in that as well. On page 13, we carry a $10 million umbrella. That is in addition to those underlying limits. So you exhaust those underlying limits, you have a 0 deductible. So if you had a bad claim and the first $1 million was exhausted, you have another 10 million over that. And that umbrella also goes over the underlying employer's liability that is currently with Eastern Alliance. So it's a very, very broad umbrella. That is one of the things we have liked about it. It has a 0 retention. So you would not have to pay a deductible. On page 14, what I wanted to highlight here is cyber coverage. Now, we worked with the IT department here, and it was several years ago. PSBA partnered with Chubb on a very, very broad and detailed cyber policy, and the school district opted to buy that over the Liberty Mutual policy because it's so much broader. It covers so much more. And this policy, Chubb has these little tests, and they will go into your system and look for loopholes in your security system and then work with your IT department to remedy those. So that is an option. You can buy lesser coverage. It's significantly less money, but a lot less is covered in the IT department. I don't know that they would be pleased, but that is certainly another option for you. On page 15, we have a continuation of page 14, and then page 16 is the Liberty Mutual, and you can see how much smaller the limits are. We had 2 pages of limits for the PSBA quote, and we have 1 short page for Liberty Mutual. Now, we also, if we go on to page 17, I just want to show you here, this is if you went with that $50 million increase in premium in the property, what that would drive. But Liberty Mutual's offering a slightly lower limit of 235, and that would be 155,000. I've highlighted that under Liberty Mutual alternate property quote down below. We offer voluntary student accident through K&K. It's an online program. It's very inexpensive. Last year, we had just a few students need to purchase that. We have given quotes for active shooter. I've attached it just so you can see it was a new and different coverage. And then we're offering you 2 workers' comp quotes. We were assigned Eastern Alliance and MEMIC. MEMIC is out of Maine, and they all right along the Eastern Seaboard. This is $40,000 in savings. There was a change in the state rating, and rates are down. And as you can see, the classification payroll we used was 33 million. Last year, the actual payroll was 28 million. That's what was submitted. This year, though, we were asked to quote based on 33 million. So that's what we've done. When we do a little comparison and say, if we went back to the 28, what would it save? That Eastern Alliance goes down to 154. And the Mehmet quote goes to like around 140, I believe. Those were the original quotes we gave, and then we gave an alternate higher quote. So if you look at your payroll, and I believe Christie does pay as you go. So you really only pay what you submit as payroll. All right. On page 18, that was the optional active shooter quote that we gave the school board. And this is just a sample of the interesting and new and different coverages that come on the market that we make available to you. We bring them to your attention and give you some options. And if you, on page 19, if in fact you have any questions, we can reach the Mutual Insurance Bureau for independent valuations. And on page 20, I just wanted to tell you, we have been your agent for some time, and we have had some extremely delicate claims matters. And we have a privacy policy in our office where we do not talk out of the office. Nobody has ever heard anything from our office regarding the many claims that have come through our office, many of delicate nature where we had to meet with your attorneys and very complicated. And I just wanted to make clear to you that we have a privacy policy. So that is my quick 15-minute and so I'll entertain questions, or if you want to speak with Wilson and JP and or any questions that you might have, we would love to remain your agent. I mean, that is something that we would like to do. As I said, we have contracts with all the carriers, so we can do a comparison, get all the quotes and do a comparison for you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Beth?
Beth, why is there such a large increase? It's like 42% increase from last year to this year.
So your property coverage is up because two things. They increased the limit by 50 million. The industrial appraisal increased your appraisal by $50 million in 2023. So that is part of the increase. The other part is that we are seeing property rates go up because last year in 2023, as an example, there were 19 storms that cost across the nation that were 54 billion in damages. And that is driving rate. People are carriers, just as an example, PSVA, Utica, they're all being looked at because their surplus of saving money has been spent on claims. So it's a really big deal. Your school leaders, I tried to explain, is up because of your claims, okay? And your umbrella follows those coverages. That's how that's rated. So we can play with that coverage. That's why I tried to give you some alternate quotes.
Okay. Thank
Now,
you.
we did get an alternate school leaders quote, and I did include it. So school leaders is tricky. School leaders has a deductible, and that's one of the things that Christy and I have talked about at length. Your deductible with Liberty Mutual is currently at $25,000. So each one of those claims, you pay the first 25. All the alternate quotes that we've ever been able to get, the deductible is 50,000 or greater. The alternate quote that I got had a $75,000 deductible. So you'd pay the first 75,000 of every claim, and it was 68,000. So Liberty Mutual's at 89, they're at 68, but after one claim, you're in the hole. So I'm not sure that looking at those higher deductibles is in your best interest when you keep having claims. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything else? Anyone has any questions on anything?
All right, well, thank you.
All
I
right, well,
so appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank-
giving us
Yeah.
consideration today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Again.
State Farm keeps telling me.
Hello.
You don't.
Hi, I'm Brady.
Hi, I'm Butch.
Nice to meet you, Butch.
Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Anthony
Nice to meet you, Frank.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you, Christy. Nice to see you, Christy.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Hello.
We're
Where
gonna have
should
you
we?
actually sit right at the table, that way you can speak into the
Yep.
microphone. We have people online.
Very good. All right, thank you for having us. My name is Brady Grove from the Hartman Agency. This is Anthony Donalo. He's one of our partners out of our State College office. We're headquartered out of Williamsport and have a second location in State College. Want to thank you all, first of all, for allowing us to be involved with the RFP process and provide what we think is a quality submission to this, which I can talk about here. We've already had quite a developed conversation, provided a proposal, so I wanted to be really respectful of the 15-minute window and just put some of the highlights together for this meeting. And then they can be followed up by any questions that you guys have. Does that sound good?
Sounds fine.
Okay, so you'll see that you have a staple on that, and the backside is a service calendar that we use as kind of our guidepost for all our school districts and larger, more complex accounts. The intent of this, you'll see it has a lot of stuff on it, is not for you guys to read through it and understand it right now. It's just more of an evidence to the functional, predictable structure that we use for school districts, holds us accountable. This is not a workload that you guys are involved in every one of these things. It's more of an internal guide that we use to make sure that we're staying on top of things in the windows that they need to be on top of. We need to be on top of them. There's a lot of proactive work that really affects the bottom line when it comes to your insurance premium. And this keeps us honest, for lack of a better way to phrase that. So just wanted to include that as kind of what we find to be really impactful to our level of success. With the many school districts and institutions that we work with locally here, have them listed in that second bullet. Most of these, all of these, I should say, are more than 10-year relationships of ours. We put together a pretty aggressive curriculum with them that allows them to alleviate the responsibility of RFPing their insurance program by bringing alternate options when the market suggests that. And then outside of what the market suggests, because that is a evolving animal, as you guys are familiar with, we do that 3 to 5 years anyhow, even if everything stays pretty vanilla. So
There's only a few carriers that are really, really good for school districts. Okay, you've got to realize that. So that makes the service model that.
Could you please speak into the microphone? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, there's only a few carriers that are really, really good at school districts, which makes the broker's service model really important to the district.
So talk is cheap. So we wanted to kind of show you what that means from our perspective, and then a way to keep you guys focused on school district responsibilities and us to have your back from the insurance program side of things. So we work with many school districts and institutions. I pulled a sampling of 3. I assure you that all of those ones you see in the bullet followed suit with this for the most part, with maybe some minor changes. But to our point about when the market supports going to them and finding and developing alternate options to what the incumbent program is, and then also doing it every 3 to 5 years outside of that. This is a 10-year scope of State College School District, Bellefonte School District, and CPI, which is a technical institute up that way you're probably familiar with. And you can see here the transition between Liberty and CM Regent, which are for all intents and purposes, if we boil the noise out of this, the reasonable carriers to be involved with the majority of the lines on your program and have been for some time. They changed their approach though, and it's kind of a statewide position that they take, where Liberty, as of 2021, they got much less aggressive in the school district environment, in the school district industry in Pennsylvania. So we almost universally moved all of our school districts with a lot of respect for Liberty, giving them last look at based on the relationship that we had with them. But around 2021 and 2022, it financially made universal sense to move over to CM Regent for the program. And if you aggregate from a premium standpoint from around 2021 to now, it was a six-figure savings in aggregate for most of the school districts that we did that transition. So that was a really relevant move. And again, this is kind of the background stuff that we do that makes our school districts feel really comfortable that they don't need to go figure out how to find an alternate option that makes sense and to consider. So moving forward, outside of just our normal protocol of doing this, there's a lot more than the bottom line that can really affect your overall insurance cost. So what we're dealing with right now, and as you guys know, 7-1 is a very common renewal term for school districts because your budget is structured around that. And this is a huge line item on your budget. So it's really prudent that you have this built into your budget so you know what to expect for the year ahead. But there's more to it than the numbers that you see on your policy. So Liberty is a very good, high quality carrier, and they are now very competitive in Pennsylvania again in 2024. But that comes with other considerations that are really important to understand. There are huge deductible changes, and I just tried to, again, respecting the 15-minute window, put a couple here. But there's a lot of different deductible changes where if you have a claim or two or three, whatever premium savings you might see on that bottom line can be flipped upside down really quick. So we have to acknowledge the fact that you have a big operation, claims do happen, and there's a lot more that affect that line item on your budget than just the premium that's up front, which is very soundly an estimated premium, right? Because there's a lot that goes into that. So wanted to point that out. Our goal is you guys are a high quality school district. I was actually graduated from Lock Haven with a teaching degree. I was an administrator down at Montoursville School District. I was an athletic director and a high school teacher before I came over to the private sector. You guys have a great reputation, right? So we're flattered for the opportunity to be here, and we would love an opportunity to partner with you for your 2024 term. And with that appointment, our goal would be to very quickly access all of the markets available to you, including your incumbent carriers, including Liberty, including Eastern Alliance, which we have a strong relationship with. And we would like to polish and update options through each one of them and put it in a linear comparison that includes premiums, includes deductibles, and includes coverage differentiators that are really important to what at the end of the year your insurance cost could be, right? It's going to consider trending claims that you guys have experienced, whether it be work comp or on the package, and how the deductibles may, if we applied those claims to our year ahead, how that might affect your pricing and what that does to it. So that our goal would be to give you a very clear picture of what your insurance program looks like from a premium standpoint and a deductible standpoint. And when you have to, do a renovation on a building, what that builder's risk cost looks like, how Liberty and CM Regent may compare to each other, right? So these are our goals. Obviously, part of the RFP process is that we need to bring a number to you. So you'll see the bottom line here does have a row of premiums that we have access to right now. I do not necessarily think this will be our recommendation if we get appointed to you. I think that we need to get access to all the markets promptly when you guys would make that decision. And then we'll put that together. All the work would be ahead of us and to put in an option together. When we do that, we tend to find a very clear recommendation based on these factors that I'm talking to you about. So that's basically what we have. Appreciate your time, and we're definitely interested in any questions you may have for us.
Okay. Anyone have anything that they ask these gentlemen? Okay. If not, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you, guys.
So I've learned a couple things through this whole RFP process that I didn't know before. Basically, what we're doing first is picking the broker. then they have access to all of the carriers. So even though, I'll just use Hartman as an example, their quote's going to come in lower and they're probably going to pick Eastern Alliance. But how it works is when you go out and get an RFP, once you get a hold of Eastern Alliance, who's our current workers' comp carrier, nobody else can quote them. So I had to go out and say to Gerhart Her, you can have these 5 carriers for these 5 different types of insurance and go quote it. Because Hartman isn't allowed to touch any of the 5 that Gerhart had. It's crazy how that happens. So there is competition, but there isn't. So what happens is if I would have said to Gerhart Her, go out and get me a bunch of quotes, she would have quoted everybody and blocked everybody else from trying to get a quote. So I had to go to the big 3, which is CM Regent, Liberty Mutual, and Eastern Alliance, and just say to the 4 people that gave us quotes, you can have this market, you can have this market, you can have this market. So it was hard to put a quote together. You're really picking your broker and then you're picking your carriers. They will go out and pick your carriers. So these, at the end of the day, aren't your lowest numbers. But what I wanted to do is go out and say, so they're the 2 local firms. Hartman's from Bellefonte and Gerhart is from Lock Haven. What I think it did though is I don't know what kind of quote we would have had otherwise from Gerhart had we not done this process. So is that the correct wage number?
Yeah.
Because at first they came in pretty low on our wage number. What happens there for the workers' comp, if you don't give an appropriate number for the wage, then they'll get you on the back end and you'll have another $150,000 that you'll owe in the back end. And we didn't want that to happen. We wanted them to quote the real wage number up front. So today's process, and I think for the what we'll need to do today is get a recommendation of who the carrier is. Then they'll go out, or the broker, the broker, and they'll go out then and get your quotes. If that makes any sense. You're really getting the RFP for the broker, and then they'll go out and
We're
get
actually
the
looking at the
service.
24, 25.
We are 24, 25, yes. So as of July 1, if we choose Gerhart Her, they'll go out and find us the best quotes. And it'll be around the $500,000, $480,000, $500,000 range. Or do we choose to go to Hartman? It's really about service for us. It's really about service for, Christy and I, because we're not the experts and I want to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, help us.
Well, just the 2 things they had.
It's hard because
Yeah.
it's not just about the numbers. And that's what's hard about it.
And Gerhart was considerably less, even with the raising is.
Well, you have to, so you have to add in.
Yeah.
It's this number here, you have to add in this workers' comp down here. She doesn't have the workers' comp added in up here.
Okay,
So you're really looking at over 500,000 up here.
so they are compatible.
They are comparable, yes.
So-
And what will happen is I can guarantee you Eastern Alliance is our current carrier. Just say if we would go with Hartman, they'll pick up Eastern Alliance at the 165. So this quote will go down. That's why I'm saying today it's about picking the broker. They'll go out then and find us. But you almost have to go through this RFP process so that make sure that you have the right broker. Are they really going out? And I'm not saying, are they really going out and getting the best quotes out there? Or do they have preferred carriers that, and it also matters on the back end. What really matters too is how much are they commission are they getting on the back end? Sometimes the commission's built in, so you really don't know. And I know that Hartman agreed to pay us commission separate from the insurance. We pay the insurance and then we pay them a commission on the back end. And I think Gerhart Hers is built in, I think it's 8%. So that's something where, I believe that that Hartman's was around 6%. So that's where you negotiate as well. But it really is picking the broker at this point.
So a big part of this, I think, if you don't mind,
No, go ahead.
is that you said that it's about the services provided, so that either one of you can pick up the phone, you know that you're going to have
Mhm.
somebody reliable that can give you the right information, timely, and all that sort of thing. Is there, from what you heard today or what you've seen elsewhere, I'm guessing that you've talked to some of the other districts that are working with this other broker, is there from that a recommendation that you would make to the committee to get to the board?
I think we will get quality services, and Christy can also, and I did talk to State College in Penns Valley, and they both love department. They've never had any issues. They very much are involved in your walkthrough, school walkthroughs and your safety committee, very much hands-on. What I like about both of them is they're local. We did have 2 other quotes came in, but I don't feel as if they can be hands-on. They can't be here in, half hour, then we might need them to be. And they also don't know the area. They don't know the school district. They do. And Bellefonte has said, again, you've got lots of local school districts, Bellefonte, Penns Valley State College, that use Hartman. So I don't think we'll, service-wise, lose either way. My concern, wasn't even a concern. I just wanted to make sure that we were really being competitive through the back years. One of Hartman's, when he looked at the numbers, said, and this is of course, sales strength. I probably could have saved you money over the past 5 years with your workers' comp claims. I don't know that, to say that. So service-wise, I think they would both do a very good job. And we have not had any problems in the past. So I wanted to go out and get competitive quotes, competitive brokers. I wanted you to come in and meet them. And just because we've been with somebody for 20 years doesn't mean that's the way we should go. And we also don't have to sign up for this for 5 years. We can, if this go whoever you want in another year, figure out that's not the right answer for us. We've had issues. I really wanted to put it out there for the committee to see.
Well, if they're both comparable, I mean, if cost-wise.
Yes, they will.
I mean, it looks to
Yes.
me like they're going to be pretty much in the same ballpark.
Yes.
I know we always like to try to keep things local,
Mhm.
and they both are, but with Pure Heart being right here in Clinton County, and I know that we've used them for a long time. I don't know. I guess I'm just more familiar with Beth, and I don't hear you saying we've had any issues with them.
No, I don't, there's not that I have seen any type
And
of
they've always
service
been,
issues.
I'm sure that they're, easy to get a hold of when you need to, and they give you good service.
Yes.
I guess I kind of lean in that direction if everything's pretty equal, only because they are right here.
What would not be equal then would be the commission on the back end.
Right.
And that would depend on what the insurance comes in at. So you do have a difference in the commission.
There's no way of knowing that total cost until we pick a company.
Right.
And that's, I know, this is what makes, again, this is what I've learned from doing the RFP, because I didn't know that that's how it worked. So I can't go out and tell them both to get quotes from Eastern Alliance because they won't do that. I don't know why, but that's regulated that way. I have no idea why. And I had to learn that from one of the other insurance companies that said, don't just give your current person the right to go out and get all the carriers because we'll never be able to quote. I had no idea that was how that worked. I had no, because I would have just said, hey, go out and get quotes. And they would have had some, who knows, offbeat, carrier that they were trying to quote, or they probably wouldn't have quoted. That's probably, we would have got one quote from our current carrier because she had all the markets.
Right.
So again, I know it's,
So this-
I kind of agree with Jeff. I think if all things are equal and the costs are is roughly the same, I
Oh.
think we need to keep as much as we can in the local community. And I know nothing else, they're gonna be paying tax on the money we give them, so,
Right.
yeah. So we
is
get,
anyone concerned with Beth retiring? And
I think they've been complacent for all these years and sitting there. And I think the new blood might actually give them a boost.
I think the RFP made them not complacent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that has helped.
Hey, I was always told you should go out and get a quote on insurance every couple of years yourself anyways.
Well, I think that the new generation coming up there, I think they've been grooming them for a while. And I
We
think
work with
that
JD a lot.
I know Wilson's been going around with her to different things. quite a
yeah,
bit.
he's been with her now for a couple of years anyway. And I know, so I think they'll be fine. Maybe I can step in. Chris, did you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, so what Joni's saying is we can't compare each other's rates against each other?
Correct, because they can each go to the same carriers, they can each quote from, but
Right.
not through the RFP process. The difference really at the end of the day is the commissions. That's really what it will come,
That's a tough way to make a decision
right? It's, well, the service,
when when you can't compare anything.
yes, I would agree, but at least what I wanted to do was put them in front of you all so that you can see. I think they'll be very comparable service wise. And that's why I like that. I would definitely chose someone that's local. But again, the back end will be the commission.
Cause it would have been nice if they had a screen presentation to compare what the numbers on the other one were.
I know it'd be easy to compare. And what I have not done yet, and I will tell you, I have not done this yet, is compare to make sure that I'm comparing apples to apples, that this person's deductible is the same as this person's deductible. But I would 99% sure that that's what they did, because we just gave them our last year's numbers, and that's what they were to quote off of.
Yeah, I agree that it's still kind of a crapshoot in a way, but if their costs are gonna be similar, I mean, you know what the commission's gonna be, but.
And the commission could be a difference of, well, 8%, 6%, couple, $30,000-$40,000. And that's where you could realize the savings then. It's going to go up from last year. We know that.
Yeah.
It will go up from last year. Where I would say the savings would be what you would get from the commissions. That's really the only thing at the end of the day, because like I said, the service is pretty comparable. It's just really the commissions and the local of the service, locality of the service.
Could we negotiate commissions?
We have not, because this is what we received.
Is it possible to do that?
I don't know. That I don't know if that's something that you negotiate. I would imagine so.
I'm sorry, I missed that question.
I said, was it possible to negotiate the commission?
Well, okay. I was gonna ask, can we just simply ask them what their commission is? I mean, yeah,
It's a percentage of the.
yeah.
It's a percentage of each of one of the.
Sure. But I mean, what's the
policies.
percentage, and you've worked with both of these people in the past, John?
I've only worked with Beth. When we went out to, do the RFP process, then we did receive three other RFPs. Two were not local, and Hartman is from Bellefonte. I personally know him, like I personally know Beth, and I personally know, Brady as well. So I would do business with either one.
Okay. Thank you.
So are we in a position to make a recommendation at this point?
So what we'll do then, because this has a July 1,
Right.
then I will make what will happen, I believe now, is you're gonna make the recommendation for the broker, then they're going to immediately go out and get quotes. They pretty much have the information. It won't be hard for them to go out and get quotes. And I would say probably by the June board meeting, you'll actually have the actual proposal in front of you with the numbers to approve for the June 15th board meeting.
are we in agreement? We'll stick with Gerhard Herb? Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, at least that was Butch and my.
Well, I would like to find out if, you know, Joni, it sounds like you're estimating what you think their commissions are gonna be. The
No,
percentages. I think we ought to find out so you can tell us whether they really are comparable in what it's gonna cost us.
Well, I know that Gerhard Her is 8% and Hartman is 6%.
Okay. Okay. And you think that will be in comparable costs if, with the 2% difference in commission?
I think the insurance will come in really close because they're going to go now access the same carriers with the same information.
Sure.
10,000 a year for between 6% and 8%?
Depending upon the insurances, it could be 30,000.
Difference, you mean?
If depending on I think 8% is an average of all the insurances. It could be 4% for this insurance. It could be a
Oh, so
different
it's
for
not
this.
8%
It's
across the
I think
board.
it's an average of
Average.
all of the insurances
Okay, I
together.
just thought they took the 500,000, 8%.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably.
So what you're saying is they're both gonna be very close to each other.
Yes, I believe.
But with that said, Gerhart pays Keystone Central School District taxes, so do their employees. So my thoughts on that are support the ones that support us. I've said that before.
That's what we were talking earlier.
Yep.
Jeff and I both agree with that.
I agree with that also.
Okay.
All right, so we will recommend to the full board that will,
The only thing I'd like to do is just maybe talk to Beth and
I will.
mention that difference in
I will.
commission.
Absolutely.
I think it would,
I think now.
it
is
could have
the-
an effect on
I-
it because
it should.
she knows we went out.
Especially, I will say, to the effect of, the recommendation is for you because of these reasons. However, we're noticing there is a difference between the, commissions. Is it something you'd be willing to,
Look at
discuss? And
adjust.
Absolutely.
I bet there will be. I think she'll be very thankful
Yeah.
that she's very, she was concerned,
Yeah.
going through the whole process, which was appropriate. That's, we wanted to make sure that we were getting the best for what the
Okay.
district needed. So,
That's where we'll head then. All right, moving on to the LERTA update. I think that's your cue, Nick.
So I think attached to the agenda was a document, which is about everything I have to say, and I can certainly answer some questions. I'll go over a few of the highlights, but I don't think I need too long. I was asked to present on the LERTA, but I know there was a question that came through the email recently that asked about KOZs. I don't have that information with me. I can give you a very broad overview of what that is. I'm not sure that there's any active KOZs in the area. I think most of those expired in 2020, but I could be wrong on that. And I would have to check with CEDACOG, who's a local KOZ coordinator, and the county assessment office who does those exonerations. But for LERTA specifically, which is something different from the KOZ, LERTA stands for Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance. And that was an act passed by the state in the 70s, which pretty much said that taxing bodies, so school districts, municipalities, and counties, have the ability to abate new taxes, not already existing taxes, but new taxes on construction in what they call deteriorated areas. That term is extremely broad and has been used and been okay to be used in areas just that have certain economic issues or things like that. So most places that have certain poverty levels can just designate the entire area as distressed or needing improvement. It doesn't actually have to be like on a building by building basis to say, oh, this building's deteriorated, so that is available for LERTA, but this building's not. And then for the LERTA to become active, it's not automatic. The state just authorizes these taxing bodies. So each taxing body has to approve a LERTA if they want to use one. And Keystone Central has done that. They first enacted a LERTA in 1982, and then reenacted and expanded it in 1986, 2002, and then most recently in 2008. The tax benefits for LRTA, what it is on new construction. So if you already have a property that's $1 million and you add on a new building to that, that's $2 million. The $1 million stays on the tax roll, no change. The $2 million that wasn't on the tax roll gets phased in based on a percentage over a certain number of years. The state has multiple criteria for that. You can do 3 years, you can do 7 years, you could do 10 years, and there's different percentages you can use for each. There's some places that are very aggressive, like Scranton, where they do a 10-year, 100% LRTA. So that new construction is not taxed at all for 10 years. And then there's other places that limit that to 3 years. As you can see on the back page or the second page, if you're looking at it online, Keystone Central, in coordination with Clinton County and the local municipalities, have a 10-year LRTA that's phased in at 10% per year for industrial and manufacturer improvements. And then for retail and commercial facilities, it's a 3-year LRTA phased in at 25% each year. So what that looks like is if a manufacturer, let's say they build on a land, which this isn't ever true because the land has some value, but just for demonstration purposes, the land has $0 of value, and they put a $10 million manufacturing facility on that. That means the first year, none of that $10 million assessment's taxed. The second year, $1 million taxed, then $2 million, until in year 11, after the 10-year abatement's over, the full $10 million property is taxed. So it's just something that we have to be careful of, the nuance in the words that we use to describe it, because you could consider it a loss of tax revenue, because if that facility built regardless of a LRTA, which there's no way to tell if that would have happened, because the purpose of LRTA is to make you more competitive to get those facilities and get those improvements here. If they would have built without the LRTA, then you would have had more tax revenue throughout those years. But it's not really abating taxes that are there, it's phasing in new tax revenue. So we just have to be careful how we describe that. But there's 2 current LRTAs that are active in Clinton County. One is in Castania Township, and it was a $22 million manufacturing facility. Both active LRTAs are first quality. The other one's in Wayne Township and is $11 million. So the $22 million facility, there's $2.2 million of new assessed value put on the tax rolls every year that was not there prior to the construction. And then same thing with the Wayne Township, the $11 million, there's $1.1 million added to the tax rolls in assessed value that wasn't there prior every year. The $22 million project will be fully taxed in 2031. It started in 2020. And the $11 million project started in 2016, so that'll be fully taxable in 2027. The LRTA pretty much covers the full district. A lot of times when smaller areas like specific municipalities pass a LRTA, they will pick specific census tracts or specific barriers like downtown districts or whatever to limit their LRTA. Clinton County was pretty aggressive, the county government itself, in wanting LRTA to attract businesses here. And Keystone Central, being so large, didn't want to have to be the one. I assume this was the logic behind it, to say that, no, we're going to designate this one area in our district, this one area. So pretty much the resolution for Keystone Central says we leave that to the counties and the municipalities to designate what distressed areas, what deteriorated areas, what places qualify for LRTAs. And that's about all I have, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or talk for a minute about KOZ, what I do know.
Anybody have any questions for Nick on the subject of LRTA?
I thought that one property in Renova was still a KOZ. Where they were gonna put the
I
power.
think they were just removed.
It was a KOZ. I don't know if it still
Still,
is.
okay.
I can say that it definitely was, but I'm not
Used to be.
positive.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there was 2 different specific parcels in Renova, the business park by the golf course, right where 220 and 80 come together, had a KOZ there. And then I think right around Piper Airport, there was a facility that had a KOZ at one point. But KOZ is more broad and that's state designated. It does take local action for the KOZs. But they're more broad than just real estate. It's not just real estate for KOZ. It's not just new tax and new improvements. Now, there are criterias where you have to have a certain type of business, certain number of employees, help the economy in a certain way, pay certain wages to be eligible for a KOZ. But it is more broad than the LRTA is.
Anything, Bill, Chris, anything for Nick on LRTA?
No, I've got to come up with some questions and then I'll get them to you.
Okay, perfect. Yep, and I'm happy to
I
answer
don't
those.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, moving on. Our favorite topic is the 24-25 budget update, the final countdown, right?
Okay. So this should by now should look extremely familiar.
Very familiar.
So we will, this is the timeline, which hasn't changed. Again, June 13th, the next board meeting, we will need to vote to adopt a final budget. Sorry. Next slide was, again, that was notable expenses for 24-25. That had not changed since the last meeting. The next one, next slide has changed, and that is the fact that through staff attrition and resignation, we've actually increased that number in a positive way. That was through some Act 93, again, resignations and through attrition. We anticipate to have lower wages coming in for the people who are resigning. Also, I wanted to note from last year to this year, through the collective bargaining agreements, you saw increases between 3% and 4%. So we should have expected those to rise, the wages to rise from last year to this year about that percent. We're actually under 2%, and that the increase from wages and benefits from last year to this year, which would indicate to you that we have decreased wages and benefits through resignations and attritions. So I thought that was a good number, to discuss. And, there was a, $1 million difference there. So we went from the shortfall, if you remember, in April was 2.3. We went then from May, it was 1.16. And now our June shortfall is 417,000. So administration has worked pretty hard at getting that number down.
Yeah, that's significant decrease from what it was.
So this is the next slide is where you see the 417,000. What I will have for you though by the next meeting is this year, the 23-24 projected actual. That number is still at 1.4. I'm going to, by the board meeting, I will have a better number there for you. My concern is though, is the unknown is those healthcare claims. But again, that's why we have committed funds in reserve for those types of claims in the healthcare. This is the property taxes. We've seen this slide before, the property taxes and the local share of where the property tax revenue between the PSERS and the cyber pretty much takes up all of the local real estate revenue. This is different, and so we had a couple of things happen. Also, the shift, I should go back, the shift also, we actually did see an increase. So bringing that number down from the 1.16 was through attrition and resignations. We also had an increase of $500,000 from the homestead farmstead tax relief. So that was nice. And we will not see that bump next year, but we did see a bump this year. So that was actually nice. That was an additional $500,000 in revenue. This screen here shows you a couple of different things that I want you to note. The numbers that have changed is the health insurance reserves. See how that is 2.1 for next year per PSHIC. We have to actually commit 3.2. So that has increased again because of the number of claims. Their concern is that they anticipate, though, I put it, take it back down for 25, 26. They anticipate it to go down and we hope it does. But for 24, 25, we have to commit as part of our general fund committed amount, 3.289.
What was that? Who told us to commit that?
PSHIX, our insurance carrier.
Okay. I
Yes,
didn't know what that was.
PSHIX, yes, I'm sorry. Benecon is our insurance carrier. Because we are fully insured, we have to commit a designated amount of money every year. It has increased, as you see, 1.1 million to commit in case our claims would come in. That we have to commit that kind of money. Again, we're not increasing cash, we're just moving cash out of the unassigned into the healthcare reserves because we sign a letter to commit those funds. So therefore, the unassigned fund balance has dropped to the 6.4%. But you can also see down at the deficit, that was the 1.16 is now 417. So that has also helped the unassigned fund balance increase because we'll have less of a deficit. And this slide we're familiar with was just what we were working on. And then also the potential work to reduce expenses. We're still working on all of those things. And this is the impact, approximately $930,000 of revenue. And we still are the fourth from the bottom in equalized mill rate comparison. And that will be the slide. Does anybody have any questions? This is what I will present. Actually, I don't sure I present. This is what will be on the June 13th board meeting, 15th board meeting, 13th. It was 15th last year, 13th. The only difference will be this year's numbers. I'm hoping it's not the 1.5 million. I think you'll see a reduction there as well, which will help your fund balance. I'll make sure that fund balance, but it doesn't change the budget for next year. Questions? Okay.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Well, it does look a little better than it was. So. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, move on to the last topic, CD rates.
So that just shows you, as of the end of May, we did a 3-month CD for our $7 million that is in a CD. We will make it through May and June without having to touch that money. So my recommendation will be to go ahead and do another 3 months. So that will take you in June, July, August. July is when you start, July and August was when you start receiving your real estate money. So my recommendation is we don't need to touch that 7 million again this year. I think we still had 5 million in the bank. So we didn't need to touch, and that's a safe amount if, getting us through a couple months of expenses. So my recommendation is to go ahead and put in another 3. That's easily doable with the real estate revenue.
So you said just keep doing 3 months at a time.
Well, right now, because of the
Until that's the best
rates,
rate, yeah.
the rates that's just an easy, smart.
Yeah.
I
you
always
know,
thought that would be the opposite.
I know I've never,
Yeah.
not ever, but rarely do you see that. But the past 6 months have been like that. So we'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, that's
Keep
really
reinvesting
unusual.
that money. Now, we did talk about, and I just wanted to confirm that, we did talk about taking the interest out and moving it over to capital projects. Okay, so I will do that probably at the end of May. Okay.
Anything on that? I think that's kind of a no-brainer, actually. You can get that kind of rate for that shorter time. So. All right. Anything else before we adjourn? Want to, any questions, comments, topics, whatever?
Mine didn't work about 6 o'clock.
Yes, yeah. Just a reminder, don't forget about the 6 o'clock special voting meeting this evening. Should be very brief. Hopefully, brief and to the point, so. Hopefully we'll have everybody there for that. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll have a second. Chris or Bill?
Second.
Second. All right, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We'll adjourn here at 4:10. See you tonight.